Yes, lads, welcome to the Gooners Voice. Reese Jacobs here. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you're watching from. Today I'll be answering that question or that statement in the thumbnail, in the title itself, why Arsenal is scary and why that Portsmouth result has given us evidence to show why Arsenal are so scary this season. Let's get straight into it. So Arsenal 4, Portsmouth 1. Really good result at the end of the game for Arsenal, I thought. And what makes them scary? It's really simple: squad depth. The squad depth they showed in that game was unprecedented across all leagues, I think, in world football at the moment. To have a starting 11 of Kepa Arrizabalaga, Ben White, Miles Lewis Skelly, Christian Norgard, Mikel Merino, Ethan Ranieri, Eberechi Eze, Noni Madueke, Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, it's unprecedented. These guys don't start for Arsenal. They're not in Arsenal's starting 11, besides Gabriel, who I haven't mentioned in there. And you look at that team that started against Portsmouth, bar Gabriel, who is he's our best defender, let's be honest, for the last 2 seasons. Some people may argue Saliba. The real Arsenal fans know it's Gabriel. And that team that started against Portsmouth could easily get Champions League football, maybe even push for top three. I'm not saying they could win a title, but they could push for top three, maybe even top two with their second team. And that's what makes Arsenal scary. And that's the reason why they cannot have an excuse this season as to silverware. They have to win silverware this season, whether it's a Carabao Cup or FA Cup, besides the big trophy in the Premier League or the Champions League, depending on which side of the fence you're on as an Arsenal fan, for one of the two, maybe even both. You never know. But yeah, there is no excuse with a team like that, with a squad that deep, with the squad of that quality. You have to win silverware. Apologies. And I thought the first half was a bit shaky, the first 10, 15 minutes. And we'll go into a couple of player performances right now. I thought number one, Noni Madueke is Noni Madueke. And this is the issue I have with him. He's either really good in games or he's really frustrating, or he's both. And half of the time, it's both. He's got flashes of great quality and he's got flashes of frustration where it's like, what are you doing, mate? And he's partly to blame for the first goal. Probably about 60% of that is his fault. He loses the ball. He's not strong enough against, you know, not even a Premier League team. He's not strong enough. Loses the ball gets into the box, and then they can't clear the ball. Kepa makes a save, not the best save. It's just back into the line of fire, and Arsenal concede the goal. But he needs to be stronger there as an elite Premier League winger who is challenging a position with Bukayo Saka. You need to be stronger there. Saka does not lose that ball if he gets it out wide there, and he needs to do better. In terms of the rest of the first half from Nando Madueke, once again, a lot of flashes of brilliance and a lot of flashes of frustration. Losing the ball, poor touches, easy passes that he's just gone flailing. And yeah, second half he picks it up a bit. And if Martinelli doesn't score the hat trick, because he scores the hat trick, so ultimately he has to get the man of the match. If you're scoring a hat trick in a game, you have to be man of the match. And if he doesn't, Nwaneri probably gets that man of the match award with 2 assists, but it should have been 2 assists and a goal. And that penalty miss just summed up his performance for the day. He does brilliantly to win the penalty, and then, he just scuffs his lines with the penalty itself, sends the goalkeeper the wrong way, and doesn't even hit the target, which I thought was quite surprising for him to be taking the penalty in the first place with someone like Gabriel Jesus on the bench, who needs goals, who needs the confidence. Mikel Merino is probably at that given time for the starting 11 was Arsenal's best penalty taker, in my opinion, giving it to Madueke, but it was a team decision and they gave it to him, and he ended up missing. I thought Eze was particularly poor in the second half, and something we really need to watch, and I think Arteta needs to put his hand on, is really helping Eze. I think he's struggling to find his feet in the team. I think he's struggling to understand what the team needs from him, and it's it's always going to happen. He comes from a team who barely keeps the ball in Crystal Palace, and now he's in a team that dominates matches, from start to finish. Arsenal are just always playing in the opposition half, and he's got more time on the ball. He's got more time to think on the ball, and maybe you get a lot of players who needs to be doing things on their toes. Someone like Martinelli, for example, and they shouldn't be having the time and space. And I think Eze is struggling with that. I think he's trying to be too flairful in situations when he doesn't need to, and that can be coached out. He'll learn that, but he's having a rough old time at the minute. And from that performance yesterday, because you look at the starting 11, and Eze, was the standout in terms of quality on paper, but not on the field. And we need to be extracting more from Eze. We need to be understanding where he needs to play, because I feel like he's not in his favorite position at this moment in time, and that's something that Arteta will have to figure out, because based off uh, that performance yesterday, there's no way he displaces Odegaard at this moment in time. In terms of other performances, Manreri, I thought had flashes of brilliance, but once again was not the Manreri that came into the team or came into the fold last season when he deputized so brilliantly for Bukayo Saka. He shows good pace and good skill and trickery to beat players. But then once again, the end product, that final pass or the final action is just not there at the minute for Ethan Nwaneri, another player who I think is just trying too hard. And I think that will happen when you've got such a competitive squad, such quality within the squad. They're trying to take their chance too quickly. You just have to in my opinion, just have to do the basics correctly, and everything will flow. And we saw that they were struggling with that. Little passes from Eze and Ranieri were just all over the place, picking the wrong ball at the final moment. And I worry for Ranieri a bit, because from what we know, the Arsenal management team would prefer to have him around the squad, because they plan on winning something big, and they feel that experience will be worth more than sending him out on loan. And maybe that would be better, and probably send him out alone next season. But yeah, I worry for him. You can see it in his performances that he's trying a little bit too hard, and it's just not working out for him at this moment in time. I thought one player who had a really good game, especially when he got injured, I was gutted for him, is Ben White, because he just started to get his groove back. You could see he was finding his mojo, and he was really fit, and he had a great game all around. He was everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and just classic Ben White performance. So it would be amazing having him back fit, firing. Someone who can help the load on Jiri and Timber, who we know has seen a lot of football for someone who came back with such a bad injury. So that was a real plus. I thought Ben White was terrific. Thought Martinelli was the man of the match, let's be honest. And he deserved it, especially from what happened against Liverpool. Look, it was silly from him. But in the context of things, I saw what had happened. Connor Bradley goes down with a terrible injury. We know now that he's out for the season, but he does move to the field of play. So Martinelli pushing him, moving him off the field. If you see what Connor Bradley does, how, in his opinion, how does he know he's that injured, or the injury is that bad, if he's still got the time to move back onto the field? And I think Arne Slot spoke about it brilliantly. The way players time waste now, you don't know who's injured and not injured. And Martinelli just had a bad moment, and he's not that type of guy. I mean, not that we know him personally, but we know him from his time on the field, and he's never done anything rash or risk, risks players' careers or things like that. So yeah, it was just a bad moment from him. So he really needed that, and I thought he responded well. First hat trick for Arsenal, was really really happy for him, and two goals from headers from set pieces, which is really strange for someone of Martinelli's height. But yeah, we will take it. Second half, I thought once Odegaard and Havertz and Timber came on, the quality of Arsenal just, it just jumped tremendously. It just flicked. And we saw that with a couple of touches on the edge of the box from Odegaard, Havertz, Eze. It was just so beautiful. And the impact that Havertz will have moving forward, if he can stay fit, because that's a big if. He's been out for a long time. They haven't taken any chances with him. I think they know how important he is, and I think we know how important he is for the run in. He will have a major impact for Arsenal. Those touches, finding the space in the box, is something that Gabriel Jesus and Gyökeres cannot do, unfortunately. I am not slating Gyökeres. I think he's done an okay job for Arsenal up until now. He's done a lot for the team. He should be scoring more goals. I actually thought this was the game that you start Gyökeres, get him confidence, let him bully a couple of players, let him get on the score sheet, couple of goals, build his confidence. But Obviously, Arteta doesn't want to take the chance with Chelsea coming up in Nottingham Forest and being unsure about Jesus and Havertz. We can understand that. But someone who is going to have a major say for Arsenal up until now and till ultimately May, when it decides who is the Premier League champion and who is the Champions League champions, is Kai Havertz, because he offers something that Jesus or Gyökeres cannot, and that is finesse and just this beautiful way of playing that they just lack. You know, it's evident in the chance that he has. He just finds the space in the box that neither of the other two can find at this moment in time. He finds the space and ultimately shots blocked. But yeah, it's something that he offers that they cannot, and he is our most important player in that number 9 position. Kai Havertz, a fit Kai Havertz starts over Gyökeres and Jesus, 9 out of 10 times, depending on what game state we're in. And he will have a major impact for Arsenal moving forward. He will be the reason that Arsenal lifts the big ones or does not lift the big ones. And it was really, really good to see him back in the Arsenal team. Obviously, he's going to be rusty. He's come from a long layoff. Last time we saw him was against Manchester United, which was the first game of the season. So they'll manage his minutes now, but really good to see him come back. And yeah, I think overall was a good showing from Arsenal. I thought the second half was far better than the first half. Was much more Arsenal like, dominated the game in the end. And just one thing that I'd like to nitpick once again, I think I'm just too much of a perfectionist, and I think Arsenal can do so much better, is open play chances just not being converted again. Martinelli hits the post, a couple of crosses from Madueke and Martinelli himself, where no one's on the end of things, really dangerous crosses. And this has to change. You cannot be creating all these chances and not putting in the way. At the end of the day, we only had 5 shots on target, and so did Portsmouth. Apologies. So we have to be more clinical with the chances. We have to find the end balls a bit better, and it's hard to nitpick on that for a team that's barely played together in the starting 11 that played yesterday. But it's something that has happened for too much this season. We saw it against Liverpool. That second half wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the best second half I've ever seen from an Arsenal team. And they struggled a bit. So yeah, I just one small thing I'd like to see moving forward. But we look forward to Thursday, and we'll do predicted 11s tomorrow to see who would start for Arsenal. I think it would be a great game. I think Arsenal have to win that game. I think the Carabao Cup is the most important thing from now until January. If Arsenal can win that cup, it just gives them so much belief, so much hunger, feeling that they've won something together as a team, as a group, would be instrumental in them making that final push for the Premier League title, for the Champions League, whatever it may be. And they need that belief. So we need a big showing against Chelsea. It's a London derby. We don't like those Blues. Let's smash them. Really good, strong team, which I think Arteta will go with. And that is why we saw this team against Portsmouth. I think he'll go fully fledged starting 11 on Thursday and see what he can salvage for Forest on Sunday. But in conclusion, yeah, this is why Arsenal is scary squad depth, and that is what will get them over the line this season. I believe, and I want to believe. But that's all for now, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.